How we doing, guys?
Good, Coach.
What most impressed you about what you were able to do offensively yesterday?
Oh, I thought we had a good mix in the game. In the passing game, the pass protection was outstanding. They had a determination to stop the run, so I think we got some favorable matchups outside, and we were able to cash in on them. So the execution to be efficient, but also to be explosive, I thought was important in the game. You know, after the first drive, where we had to punt, we scored on 5 consecutive drives, and we scored 5 touchdowns. So that's not easy to do in the NFL. I don't think we finished the game as well as we wanted to. In the fourth quarter, we had, I think, 3 3-and-outs. So obviously you want to finish stronger, recognizing that we were ahead, but you want to make sure that you finish in those 4-minute situations a little bit better than we did. So I think we have to run the ball better. But again, they had a determination to stop the run, had a lot of people around the line of scrimmage, so we were able to take advantage of that.
How important was play action yesterday for you guys to get going?
Yeah, play action is important. When you run the football the way we run it, that's got to be a big part of what you do in the passing game. So that's why it's so important for us to strive to stay balanced. I thought Kellen did a good job doing that throughout the game, striving to stay balanced, keep the run game alive, even though we were making big plays in the passing game. And I think that just puts that much more pressure on the defense.
You have a young coordinator and play caller in his first game. What are the reminders that you kind of get in his ear about during the game, if any?
I think the biggest thing we tried to do was just prepare for it as much as we could. A lot of on-the-ball stuff through the spring and through training camp, and obviously he had opportunities all through the preseason to call games. The biggest thing we try to do as a staff is communicate well as we're putting the whole system in, and then as we're putting game plans together, and that has to carry through to the game. That's when you're going to call your best games, and there's collaboration, you're communicating well. So I thought all of that was important, and then trying to maintain that balance and attack in different ways. But Kellen did a really, really good job in the game. He was very comfortable. He wasn't hesitant, had a very good feel for what he wanted to do, put guys in good positions, and really kind of carried out the plan. And again, I thought he did an excellent job in the game.
How much different is this offense with him from your point of view?
I don't really want to get into comparing what we're doing now to what we've done. We got off to a good start. We really did. And there are so many things that we have to get better at. That's really the perspective that we have as coaches. Even on some of the big plays that we made in the game, if you really go back and look at how we executed those plays, maybe not all aspects of those plays were where we need them to be. So that's really where our focus is. And that's where we'll continue to be. And our players are receptive to that. You can't be results-oriented. You have to be process-oriented and execution-oriented if you want to get better. That's how you're going to improve.
Dak mentioned yesterday the plays themselves really weren't all that different from what you guys have done in the past. How can you quantify the importance of movement before the snap, various formations? How much difference can that make, and how do you see it make a difference yesterday?
Oh, I think the biggest thing you try to do is attack defenses different ways, and that starts with run and pass. If you can be balanced attack when you break the huddle and the defense has to defend you as a running team and defend you as a passing team, that's where it all starts. And then if you can throw it to different guys and hand it to different guys in different ways, that makes you that much more dangerous. Now, having said all that, you have to be able to execute that. If you're just doing a lot of stuff and you're not executing it, that's not very good offensive football. So you have to find out what that balance is, to attack different ways and do a lot of different things to threaten a defense, but also do them at a high level. And then the other part of it is the presentation, what it looks like, what it feels like, whether you're using tempo or shifts and movements, all those kinds of things that just make it that much more difficult for them to keep up with you.
37 snaps, I think, and 13 carries for Zeke. Just what was your impression of how he looked without?
Yeah, I thought he handled the work well. We were very mindful about where he had been. He had a really good offseason for us, but he hadn't been to training camp and hadn't practiced against NFL players here for the last 5 or 6 weeks. So he came in on Wednesday, had a good week of practice, and we felt like he was going to be capable of playing in the game, but we didn't want to overload him, and felt very good about what Tony Pollard could do for us and very good about what Jameis Alawala could do for us. So we just wanted to balance those snaps out. Zeke's a really good football player, and he's good for a lot of different reasons. He's really good physically, but he's got great instincts and feel and intelligence and all of that. And he was probably more able to play that many snaps than most people you would have on your team. just because he has all that stuff going for him, besides just being an experienced guy in our system. But having said that, you got to make sure that you give him stuff that he can handle. And we're able to do that throughout the game. We had a couple long drives in the first half where he was out there and stayed out there. I think his number at halftime was 27 plays. So we wanted to be mindful, coming out in the second half to make sure that we spread it around even a little bit more than we had in the first half, and that worked out well for us.
What was the workload plan for him going into the game, and did it evolve over the course of the game?
It was pretty much that. Jameis Alawala was going to play a lot on third down for us, and then on first and second down, Zeke and Tony were going to essentially split it. And we had a plan by series, and depending on how long the series was, and whether it was Zeke was on for 2 and then Tony was on for 1, but we all wanted to talk and communicate throughout and make sure that we still felt good about it as the game was going on, and we did. He handled the work well. I thought he ran well. He'll run better and better the more he plays as the season goes on.
Do you anticipate he'll be able to assume more of a 2018 type workload this week in Washington?
We'll see. We'll just see how he practices, see how he comes out of the game. He lifted and ran with everybody today, so he'll have tomorrow off and come back on Wednesday, and hopefully he can get a good week of practice in and continue to get those snaps under his belt.
How did Pollard look to you yesterday?
I thought he did some good things in the game. He ran the ball hard and tough. A number of his carries came towards the end of the game. We're in kind of a 4-minute mode, and so they're really loaded up against the run there. But he didn't back off of anything. For the most part, pretty clean in protection when he had those opportunities. So he hasn't really been in all of these situations yet, and I don't think he was yesterday. He just needs to play more. He needs to run those plays versus those defenses and feel those looks, and I think he'll get better and better as he goes.
Based on how Zeke was feeling today, does it seem like it was about the right workload?
Yeah, it seemed like it. It seemed like he was able to handle it well.
There were several times early in the game where Dak would have a completion, whether it be Amari or Gallup or Cobb, and then on the very next play, he'd go right back to that same guy. Is that just the way that the play unfolded, or was it something where you guys are trying to build a rhythm with guys early on, get them involved in the game?
Again, you just want to attack on offense. You want to attack different ways, and one of the ways we tried to do that was with tempo, get on the ball, and just keep going at them. I thought the best thing Dak did in the game was he just consistently threw the ball to the right guy. I think he saw what the defense was doing and how our play overlaid on the defense, and he was a very good decision maker throughout the game. And he threw it to the best option for us, whether it was attacking the defense down the field or checking the ball off underneath. And when you do that at quarterback, you give yourself a really good chance to play at a high level.
You feel that was one of his most complete games since he's been here from start to finish as far as his decision making?
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job in the game, but we watched the tape with him too, and there's 5 throws that he wants back. So that's just the nature of it, and that's why you have to be process oriented. You really have to think about how it went and not be so results oriented, and just simply try to get better. And there's nobody in our team who knows that and understands that better than he does. He comes in here, he's very critical of himself, regardless of what the result is, and he wants to get better every day.
You use the term quarterback friendly a lot when it comes to receivers. How does Amari make himself quarterback friendly?
He's really good. He wins a lot. He wins in man-to-man coverage. He presents himself well to the quarterback. He's not someone who's all over the place as a route runner. He's just pretty clean. And he's comfortable to throw to. He's got a very good feel for recognizing man versus zone coverage, and in zone, he finds friendly spots for the quarterback as well. So he's a good football player.
I believe it was the second quarter, Gallup had the 36-yard catch, and then you guys no huddle, up tempo, and then you get another catch, and then you're on the ball again, just pushing that. What's the philosophy and when the right time is to push? When you know that defense could be on the ropes, it's time to go.
I think that varies based on the game you're playing. There might be some different conditions as to when you do that. It's just something that we wanted to do. Dak's very comfortable in that environment, and at certain points in the game, you say, let's keep going at these guys. Sometimes it's about personnel, if you want to keep a certain personnel group on the field, or sometimes it's just about the feel of the game, and that's something that we felt good about going into the game. I thought we executed that part of it well.
What are the caveats to that in terms of knowing when to push, but also when you want to slow things down?
Yeah, one of the things that you have to be careful of in a game like that is when you're ahead, you want to make sure that you're doing things you need to do to win the game. And one of those is to work the clock. So there's always that balance of continuing to attack, stay aggressive, stay after the defense, but at the same time you want to do the things that allow you to ultimately win the game. And that's something you work your way through every week.
Dak talked about back in 2016 how tough it was to compete against Kellen last night. What do you remember about that dynamic?
Well, Dak handled himself so well as a rookie, and he came in here and was such a student of the game, and you could just tell he loved football and how much he wanted to get better at it. But he was a rookie, and everything was new to him, and he was working hard to get himself caught up with some of the veteran quarterbacks we had, and obviously one of Kellen's strengths as a player was he's a really smart guy, and he understood the game and had a good feel for the game. So that's probably something that he was looking at Kellen like, wow, this guy really, really knows football, and I'm a little bit behind there. But obviously Tony was one of our quarterbacks then. He was the same way, veteran player. And, but Dak has a really good feel for striving to get better every day and recognizing how he can do that in the environment that he's in. So, without knowing what his answer was last night, I suspect, he probably said something like, I was picking their brain a lot about what they were seeing and why they were doing what they were doing, because that's just his nature, and that's why he's been such a good player for us.
We talk a lot about position flex, and with a bunch of your receivers being able to play inside and out, can you walk me through how much more difficult that makes your offense to defend?
Yeah, you want to be able to line guys up in different spots, and ultimately you want to put them in the spots that they're most capable of having success. But if you have guys who can play outside or can play inside and are comfortable running the different routes in each place, that makes you a better offense. Defenses typically have a plan for really good receivers, and if you can put them in different locations, that just helps make it that much more challenging on the defense.
I don't know what Gallup's time speed was in the 40, but when he gets the ball in his hands, does he run faster than anything that he's timed?
I don't know that, but I know that he plays fast. He really does. And one of the things that was really good about some of those plays last night was the ball location was really good, and it allows a receiver like Gallup to come off his outside foot, break inside, he turns, and the ball hits him between the 1 and the 3, and here we go. And you talk about accuracy. A lot of people talk about accuracy to complete passes, but it's accuracy to throw catchable balls and catchable balls that allow the receiver to do something with it afterwards. And then if you have a guy like Gallup who's comfortable catching the ball on the run, he doesn't have to settle on the ball. He can run through it. That's when really big plays can happen. That's when the catch and run plays happen. So it's really, you're always striving to play the game at that level with your accuracy and your ability to catch and run on the move.
Is there anything about his acceleration and ability, or what he's demonstrated to when Amari got here? Is there anything that he might have picked up from, or just seen Amari do some things that his game has improved?
That's a good question. I do think the best players I've been around, watch the guys who are really good at what they do. And they might be guys on your team, or they might study guys from around the league. And they try to understand if they can help themselves by picking up a move here or there. So when you add a guy like Amari Cooper, and he's the first guy in the line, and you're a young player like Gallup as a rookie last year, and if he's watching and paying attention, there's no doubt he can learn from Amari. I don't know anything specifically about that. I do think a big part of Michael's development has been he's just been playing in a system, taking snaps in NFL games versus NFL players, and growing from that experience. He goes about it the right way, so I think a lot of it has to do with just that experience and the confidence he's gained from that. But there's no doubt that Amari's been a very positive influence.
You come out health-wise, and can you talk about Zach Martin? Was he didn't play late because I don't know if you've been asked to.
Yeah, Zach seemed to do fine in the game. Obviously, he hadn't practiced very much with that back injury, so we had an opportunity to take him out and put Xavier in. We just went ahead and did that. There was nothing in the game that said, let's take Zach out. Jeff Heath got banged up a couple different ways, but hopefully he'll be okay and ready to practice this week. And Randall Cobb also had a little rib thing that he was dealing with, so we'll see what his availability is on Wednesday.
Kellen appears very comfortable calling plays from down on the field level as opposed to up top. How do you like it as, you know, the proximity you have to him? Does it help you at all in a different way than maybe Scott last year?
Yeah, you know, Scott called plays from the field as well in the past. So a lot of our communication just happens over the headsets. Sometimes you come over and talk to a guy who's just on the sideline with you. You have kind of a private conversation, but a lot of the communication that I have with the coaches on both sides of the ball happens through the headset. So it doesn't necessarily matter where he is relative to me in regards to that. He's comfortable down there, but again, a big part of calling plays from down there is the communication you get and the information you get from above, the guys who see it from that vantage point. And again, I thought that was really good in the game.
What were the conversations that went into having Charlton and Hill not active for the game, and what do both of those players need to do in order to be active on Sundays?
Yeah, we just felt like the 8 guys that we had up gave us the best chance. We had to be a little bit mindful of, you know, how many snaps Tyrone Crawford and D. Law could play in the game, and we wanted to back Joe Jackson up there because he might have a little versatility to play inside as well. And then we had the 3 other defensive tackles available to us. Wanted Hyder up in the game and Dorrance Armstrong up in the game. So the versatility, but also kind of what they had done up to that point. So it's a competition every week to see who gets the chance to put the jersey on as a member of the 46-man roster, and that'll continue.
Dak obviously had a perfect quarterback rating on Sunday, and if offensive linemen got ratings for protection, your group probably would have been close to perfect there. What did you make of just where you guys were from a protection standpoint, and also the relevance that bared on Dak's play?
Yeah, I thought our guys blocked him really well in the passing game, and individually they blocked him well. They handled the games well. I thought that was really pretty solid. Dak was really comfortable throughout the game in the pocket. He didn't seem like he was under that much duress. We did have a couple 3 mental errors where we didn't communicate the right way, so we certainly have to get that cleaned up in our protection. But in terms of physically blocking guys, I thought they did a really good job, and there's no doubt that had a positive impact on Dak's performance.
What does a perfect passer rating mean to you as a former quarterback?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know how they come up with that number.
Have you ever given out as a coach a perfect passer rating?
Grade.
Yeah, great. That's what I
A
mean.
perfect grade? I don't know that I ever have. You know, and again, as well as Dak played in the game, we'll go back through those 60 or so plays that he played in the game, and there was a handful of plays that he wants back, and he'd be the first to tell you that. And that's how you have to approach it. You have to always strive to get better, independent of what the results are.
What happened on the Barkley run, play 2?
We didn't get in our gaps, and we got blocked out of our gap. And it started with a miscommunication before the snap and just didn't handle it well. And he's one of those guys that if you have those mistakes and you leave a gap free, he's going to take advantage of it. His quickness, speed, and acceleration are off the charts. And Cheeto made a good play to run him down, but you can't allow those plays. You can't allow those opportunities to a back like that.
Is Cheeto's effort something that you point out to your team when you see them? Oh, I guess you already saw him today, but is that something that you point out when a guy comes from where he did to make that play, save a touchdown?
Absolutely. That's part of the evaluation of the play. You have to kind of look at all aspects of it. A lot of that play was bad for our defense, but that was one part of it that was good.
Jeff, you don't see too many guys who play as much as he does on defense, also play as much as he does on special teams. What's the value of that versatility? You know, what does it say that he can do both, and also do you have to guard against having him do too much?
Yeah, I think you described it really well. There's a lot of value to that, to have a guy like Heath, who's such a big part of what we're doing defensively, be such a prominent factor on our special teams unit, and he embraces it. That's how he came into the league, and he's really good at it. And we have to be mindful of not having him take too many snaps on special teams, but he's gonna be involved in it because he makes a big difference for us, and he's a leader. He's well respected. And he executes at a high level. So we'll continue, but we also have to make sure that we have a balance there.
What makes him so effective on special teams?
He's got a great feel. He's also fast and strong, and knows how to get away from people. Has a nose for the ball, and like I said, I mean, I'll never forget his first game. We played up preseason game up in Canton, and I'm not so sure anybody knew who he was, until you looked at the sideline shot of the opening kickoff, and I'm like, who's this guy 15 yards ahead of everybody, and he just shows up, and he really can run maybe better than people appreciate, but he's got a desire to be great at it, and he's been showing up really throughout his career on special teams.
I think Xavier Woods grayed out for you yesterday in the play.
Xavier did some good things in the game. The first play of the game, he forced a fumble, even though they recovered it, so that was a big play for us. He's been around the ball. I thought he tackled well. There were times where we didn't tackle well enough in space, but that guy's hard to tackle in space. So you need to have a lot of hats there, and I think for the most part he did a pretty good job in the game.
We talked earlier about play action. We talked earlier about pre-snap motion. Are those sorts of things that we saw game plan specific to the Giants, or are those fabrics of this offense that you guys want to do in the role, right?
Yeah, I think those are things that most teams do, and they might vary week to week for us, but that's been something that we've done in the past. And the biggest thing is to be able to take those things and the other things that you want to do to attack a defense and execute them. I think for the most part we did that in the passing game. I do think we got to get better in the running game than we were yesterday, and we'll get to work on that on Wednesday.
So did DeMarcus Lawrence play with limited work, obviously, in the offseason because of the shoulder surgery?
He played very well in the game. He was very active. He was around the quarterback. He was around the ball. Thought he ran really well. He was hard to block. He too had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery, so he was very active in the game.
He played more than you anticipated he would going in?
He played about what we thought, as did Tyrone Crawford.
Byron Jones seemed pretty pleased with just how comfortable he felt out there, given all the time that he's missed. From your vantage point, how did he look, and did he show you what you would need to see to feel comfortable raising his snaps in the future?
Yeah, he did a good job in the game. He hadn't practiced that much, so we wanted to be a little bit mindful of where he was. And we started the other guys. We had a plan to play him in the game, and as the game went on, he looked good. So we actually played him a little bit more than we had initially planned based on the feedback we were getting from him throughout the game. So I thought it was a really good start. He moved around well. He'll get better and better as we go.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you, Coach.